The library joint.
That was the
Talking
Nipsey one? The Nipsey one?
talk talking about Nipsey one. Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. See, a couple more people fall through.
Mel in the building. What's up, Mel?
Let's see. Word.
So what's new? What's new in the world for you?
Man, shoot, same thing that's, new for everybody else, man. I mean, world's just moving too fast, bro. Too much crazy stuff is happening in the world today.
Yeah.
Man, just kicking it off, man. We, going through COVID, we haven't really had an opportunity to talk. How about you, man? How are you able to stay, creative during this COVID? Well, during the COVID crisis first, how were you able to stay creative? Because you dropped a lot of stuff during
So
the
far, a little
COVID.
bit.
You drop. I mean, I say a lot because you don't normally drop much. So I'm trying to figure out, what was it that had you dropping all that heat rock on IG?
So the answer to the first part of the question, I've been able to stay creative by. It's honestly easier. It's been easier for me. I've been talking to a lot of my friends in music, and they've been having a lot of guys been having a lot of tough times, creating and finding their way because they feed off of the energy of being out, being able to perform the music or being able to go and play it for different people. But for me, it's actually been easier because I create better in isolation. So the less I have to do or the less places I have to go, the easier it is for me to create. So once I hit my wall, because I feel like we all have a wall of how long we can be isolated by ourselves in this box. So once I hit that wall, it was easy because I have so many people around me who I'm inspired by. So people like P, people like Nello who dropped the album, people like
Shout out to
Chase,
Nello.
shout out to Nello, people like Davey, having people like them, my homie David, David Famous, having
Shout out to
people like
David.
that sending you music or sending you, whether it's JV sending me a visual or being on David and Fatima's lives every week, watching them find new ways to express themselves through that platform.
Shout out to them.
You know what I'm saying? It's having things like that, like having people around you who inspire you to create, keeps me more inspired and motivated when I'm not, feeling like I'm at the sharpest I can be on my own. And what really put me in a position to feel like I was ready to put out some music, which was really just sitting in the crib, bro. And it was really an idea that kind of formed before kind of quarantine kind of came. You know what I'm saying? I had since the tape last year, I had been working on a whole lot of music. And I had made 10 to 15 records. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to Brian. Hey, my dude Brian in here, bro. He did a book, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He
he
put a
dropped the
book out,
book.
one of the
Shout out to
Brian with the
Brian,
book.
man. Little man. Shout out to Brian,
You
baby.
already know.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, so I had recorded 10 to 15 songs that I was
Robbie, what up, baby?
just kind of working on that I really liked, and I was kind of feeling them a lot. But I got to a place where I was like, man, I'm not gonna really use these records in the way that I thought I was gonna use them, when I made them.
Right.
And I was trying to figure out, should I scrap them? Should I put them out? Should I, give them away, to other people? I don't know what to do with them. And once I kind of decided to put them out, it was really from me practicing my mixing and practicing me getting better. Because during quarantine, I was challenging myself to not really learn something new, but to grow in my skill. And we talked about this prior to,
Right.
how my goal for this year, I didn't have a number of songs I was trying to put out or anything like that, but really just trying to get better at making music consistently. And part of that was just recording myself and mixing myself and trying to, learn to use my voice and hear my voice differently. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
once I did that, I was kind of liking the way they were sounding. And I was like, man, these songs sound pretty good. I want to put out these. I don't want to send them to Davey and have Medicine have to mix them and master them. I want to be able to show people and give my fans something that was a little more intimate, which was, something that was completely curated by me. These are my lyrics. These are my mixes. They may not sound good, but this is the improvement. And I wanted people to kind of, be able to be a part of that journey.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully down the road, hopefully I can mix an album of mine, you know what I'm saying, one day. And the fans that's been rocking with me from this point could be like, y'all remember when he put those roughs out and he had mixed those and they sounded mad imbalanced. Like now he's
Right.
mixing his own albums and this album is like, you know what I'm saying, best album I ever heard. What up, bro?
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
stuff like that.
That's interesting. Like, I can only imagine as a musical artist, you constantly got to find ways to be creative. As me, somebody wanting to be in media, and just me as a person, I think the way I've been able to stay creative during the pandemic, even though we haven't put out an episode in like a month and a half,
All right.
it hasn't stopped my creativity. But me, I just like sitting back and watching. Like, by me observing is my nature. I'm a people watcher. So not only do I watch people, I watch news, what people saying on Instagram, Facebook,
Right.
this, that, and the third. I sit back, whether we in group discussions or this, that, and the third. It gives me time to assess my feelings and my emotions so that I'm able to articulate it in a way that when I do put out a podcast or when I do create content, it means something. Like
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle said, for every great comedian, it should take you 2 to 3 years to write a good stand-up. Like, and a stand-up that stands the test of time. Like, not a stand-up that you can do in 5 different bar joints a year. Like,
right.
some content that stands the test of time. I remember Denzel told Jamie Foxx, the measure of an actor is not how many movies you do, but what movies you're doing. And so I've kind of taken that with Reach Over Culture, like it being a podcast, wanting to turn it into a full media group. It's been tough. Like, I've come up with so many different creative things to talk about, but at the same time, like the mental stress that the COVID put on me was racing just as fast as my creativity was. So I got one and the other racing like coincided, and just being in the new season of life and period, having to face a lot of stuff on my own, it was like I'm creative because I'm sitting back and I'm assessing, but I feel like I'm voiceless as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and at that point, it's like, am I creative? I'm feeling creative. I got these creative ideas, but I'm voiceless at the same time. So it doesn't materialize to be, anything but just creative ideas.
Right.
And so I've been wrestling with that as a creative in my own fashion, you know, not trying to be like anybody else. I'm not a graphic designer, anything like that. My creativity is in my words. And that's been the toughest part. Like, it hasn't been tough to be creative, but it's been tough to express it because, and then on top of that, because everybody's going live, everybody's doing stuff from the crib, a bunch of dope podcasts, a bunch of dope different things, but everybody's kind of like in the same lane as me now to a degree. So it's, even with that, it's like, man, I don't, it's kind of harder to even like stand out when you got all these thoughts, you got these creative ideas, and it's a little different than what everybody else is doing, but it's like everybody's doing the same thing now, you know? So honestly, it couldn't have been the best and the worst time for me because I had a plan for April and March. Like, it was a plan. Then COVID happened, and that plan got, that plan ceased to exist. But, I mean, as far as just being able to stay plainly creative, I was creative, but I just didn't have a voice. But now, talking to people like you, talking to people like P, talking to people, just talking to different people who's been able to stay creative. Like, the only reason we on this live now is because me and you had that conversation on Saturday.
Right.
Like, you helped me realize, like, oh, man, I got a voice. Like, I got my voice back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's definitely been tough, but, I can only imagine as an artist with, record streams going down, different stuff like that, that has been extremely hard to create. But I've been proud because, again, you put out more stuff in this past 2 months than I've known you to put out.
Period.
Period.
And for me, it'd be like, I feel like in moments like those is moments where I feel like God is in the perfect place to be used and to be shown through. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like in a season where nobody knows, like, because there was a time right after the pandemic was like, okay, yo, we're in a pandemic now. There was a time where people in music didn't know what to do. We didn't know if like should we drop, should we not drop. Like I was on panels, bro, like in the like industry panels, like of just different CEOs and labels talking like what should we do. And after such a while, I felt like I was leaning more on like what people were saying or what I thought the people wanted to hear or what I thought, other people was or wasn't going to do, and not focusing so much more on what I felt like I was supposed to be doing or what I felt I was more comfortable doing or what I felt I was supposed to be doing. And like I had a plan for the year. We talked about it. I had a plan for what I wanted to do with music for the year, stuff like that.
Right.
And the pandemic hit and I was about to change it up. You know what I'm saying? I was about to be like, man, I don't really know, if this plan is something I should still do. And then I feel like I just heard guys say like, I knew the pandemic was coming before I gave you the plan. Like I knew the pandemic was coming before you heard the plan. So why would my plan change based on something that's not different to me? And that's why I decided to put out those rusts the way I did. Cause I'm like, man, like God knew this was going to happen. The vision that he gave me wasn't, pandemic dependent. It wasn't, anything dependent. It was dependent on whether I was going to behave or not, whether I was going to follow through or not. And that's what really gave me the courage more so than anything else to just follow through.
That's a fact. That's good, bro. And that is something that God constantly reminded me during this pandemic. Like my race is not everybody's race,
right?
We get in a space, and again, I'm sitting there like, everybody got a talk show now. But like everybody got a talk show now, but I'm like, man, what's for me is for me, and what Reach Over Culture is gonna do is what Reach Over Culture is gonna do.
Exactly.
And one of the ways I was able to kind of get over that hump was actually supporting the people that was doing their thing. Like I be tuning in to Tima and David because they be putting out dope content. I started catching up on Lil Fires in Africa, catching up on 20 on the Town, these different spaces, platforms that I wouldn't even have listened to had I just not had the time, because they inspired me to continue to do my thing. So I think that's absolutely amazing that you got to that space, because we're just so, we get so competitive. Not even with just other people, but just with ourselves. Like we see other people doing their thing. Yeah. We see other people doing their thing, and we get moved by that. It's like, man, I struggle with that so much during the pandemic. Like, man, everybody doing their thing, but then I constantly have to be reminded, like, everybody's race isn't my race,
Yeah.
So that's good that you said that, bro. What do you think about all of the protests and things going on in that nature? It seemed like we went from one extreme to the next extreme. How do you see the protests and stuff that's going
on? So for me, I really, when it comes to stuff like this, I really want to, not be PC, especially when I'm talking to you, and play both sides. So
we can't
I'm
do that.
I'm for the protesting, and I think the protesting has been fantastic, and I think that it's doing a lot of good. I think that I would like for there to be some more direction when the protesting is over.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what's an encouragement and a concern that you have regarding the protest? Like, what's an encouragement and what's a concern?
I think the encouragement is just the unity of like the people. Like, I went to one here, Tulsa, where I'm from. And I was really encouraged to see so many different races, and to be quite frank, so many white people, coming out to the protest. I was encouraged to see it, very encouraged to see it. But on the flip side of that, I think the negative part of that is that because there's so many new voices that are now joining in on our cause, I feel like more so now than ever, do we need to give more information, about one, why we're here, two, what we're doing once we leave here, and three, what's the long-term plan for all of this. So, like, I think it's kind of irresponsible to have, 500 white people come out and protest with us and all of this, and we're angry. So, like, because we understand what's going on. So when we loot, and I'm not for the looting and the rioting, you know what I'm saying? But even when the black people are looting, there's a sense of understanding of like where that pain is coming from, what that means, why it's happening, and that's why there's not like a certain level of outrage within our community. The reason why there's an outrage when there's the white people that are looting and rioting is because y'all don't actually have the information, so y'all are just acting on emotions or on other people's emotions, but with no understanding. So I feel like when we go and we protest, it's great to protest, it's great to boycott things and all of that. But like, if at the end of the protest, there's no understanding, it's like, all right, so are we only shopping black for the rest of the summer? Are we only shopping black and local? Or are we going to be putting together programs for people to get encouraged to go and actually vote and be informed on what's going on within their communities? Like, what are we actually going to do after that? And I feel like back in the 70s and 60s when we protested and things like that were happening, there was no social media. So we had to come together to protest to get the information for what we were going to do moving forward. You know what I'm saying? So now I feel like there's a whole lot of rallying, there's a whole lot of unity, but there's really not a lot of information being put out as to what we're supposed to do to make the most difference moving forward. You know what I'm saying? There shouldn't be there shouldn't be getting back to the old ways after this. Like, okay, we're done protesting, now we're waiting for the next person to get killed so we can do this again and get more people aware of what's happening. Like, it's like, all right, now that we have so many more people aware, what are we going to do moving forward to make sure that we're making some change?
That's a fact. That's a fact. Those are similar to my thing. Like, my biggest encouragement, like you said, the revolution is being televised. What up, P? Surfboard. The biggest encouragement for me is the revolution is being televised. Like, two of the most historic legislations in Black culture is the Civil Rights Act of '64 and the Voting Rights Act of '65. But both of those came after the Little Rock Nine, Rosa Parks, the Freedom Fighters, and the March on Washington. Like, all those things, even after Jim Crow. And the difference between that era, the 60s and the 50s, like you're talking about, and Jim Crow was there was no television. So in the 50s and 60s, even though a lot of people didn't have television, there was still enough television and radio to let you know, like, this is what's going on outside of your walls. Right. And you can be inspired by that. People inspired by that. I was at the same march, the same protest on Black Wall Street. I saw you out there. And I had never been to anything like that in my life. And it was very, very encouraging to see. Like you, I was like, bro, there's a lot of white people out here.
Man,
it was kind of scary. It was kind of scary. But then I remember, I'm like, I mean, y'all should be out here. Because, I mean, keep it G. If we can't get the cop, who you think we coming after? You should really want to stand with us. Because if we can't get them, we come to get y'all. I know that's how a few of them was thinking. But a lot of them, will want to stand in unison with us. And that was beautiful. But, I like that everything's being televised. And for the longest, these things were happening on social media, this, that, and the third. And nobody was doing anything about it. Now, it's like it gets thrown in your face enough. Even now, more than in the 50s and the 60s, where you're sick of it, where you do grow tired of it. Because now it's on your smartphone, laptop, TV, versus back then it was on your TV and your radio. Now it's everywhere that you look. And
there's nowhere you can go to hide from it.
It's nowhere you can go to hide.
It's in your sports now. You know what I'm saying?
It's in your sports.
Everywhere. Like, and even everywhere. For me, I had to turn off. Like, I'm a big sports guy. You know what I'm saying? And I got to a point, and to where I got so angry. Like, I'm frustrated about everything that's going on. It's like, man, I can't even watch First Take, Skip and Shannon, because like it's all up and down that.
They got Steve and they taking vacations.
There's no, you know what I'm saying? There's no way to avoid it now. And when there's no way to avoid it, like that's it, and that's why I'm saying, like, I was saying this when Trayvon Martin got killed, and I was saying this when Terrence Crutcher got killed too, and everybody in between and everybody after. But the attention wasn't the same as it is now. And that's why I feel like now, even more so than those times, it's more important, or it's so important to get people more information on what the next steps are. Like, we've been outraged for 10 years. And me, when I was a kid, I marched in Houston with Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. And it was in downtown Houston when I was a kid. And I remember that moment so well because we marched for like hours. And we marched from one side of the city or one side of a neighborhood, because neighborhoods in Houston are huge, from one side of the city to the other side of the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying, to this church. And the thing that was so powerful, and I mean, like, I'm sitting here like a 9-year-old MC, like standing here, Jesse Jackson on one side, Al Sharpton on the other side. And we get to the church where we finish at, and they spoke for like an hour and a half and just talked to the people. And there was like, it was a rally. It wasn't just a parade. It wasn't like a nice demonstration, but like they made sure that once we finished, they spoke to the people and made sure that all of the anger that was in that crowd, all of the sadness, all of the passion that was in that crowd was channeled and properly, you know what I'm saying, pushed in the right direction. It wasn't just let's be mad or let's be sad or let's be passionate and go do whatever. It was like, okay, channel all of this, and this is how we're going to use it to better this community in the future. And that always stuck with me. So whenever stuff like this happens and we go and we protest and we demonstrate, like, I always think like, okay, what are we going to do after this? And if I don't feel like there's anything being done after this, to me, it's a waste of time.
That's my number one concern, because like waves like this come and go.
Yeah.
Especially in a progressive system like we are now, progressively in social media, like everything's just moving so fast. Like people act like COVID-19 wasn't a thing.
It's not a thing. It's still happening, bro.
But like that's what I'm saying. Like how do we go from being quarantined? LA went from being locked down to Compton being packed to the brim, street to street.
Yeah.
Like where you can't even move. Like, so we go from being almost locked down in the house, threatened with martial law, to now everybody's back outside. And so like these waves, they come and they go. And like America as a whole, whether it be with the Black community and just different topics, we so lulled to sleep. Like like America has the, like, those in power, the day that DJ Khaled was talking about, like they have so many influences in media and different things that it's easy to kind of put this type of stuff to the back burner. In some form of fashion, somebody's making some money off of this, and then once nobody's making any money off of this, it gets pushed to the back burner. So my biggest concern, like you, is that we're not being educated enough on other topics in the Black community.
Yeah.
All right, these past protests have been about police reform and justice, and justice for George Floyd. What happens when we do get police reform and justice for George Floyd? Then what? Like we need, and we have them, we just haven't really been paying them a lot of attention. We need more leaders to bring up issues that affect our community in the schooling system, our community in the medical field, our community in the law system. Like, how do we get more politicians that look like us to actually get up in Congress and affect change? You know, I pray that we get more leaders that's on the front line and that we actually start to lend them the ear, like you said, coaching us on different issues outside of police reform. Because listen, the system is good for giving us a little enough to shut up. So that, like, the NFL just passed a new CBA where the players really got little to nothing.
Nothing at all.
But because they're able to smoke weed outside of training camp, nobody argued and nobody put up a fight. So
we'd
like,
be cool with taking a little bit.
We cool with getting a little inch, but we don't go for the mile so we can stop getting the mile. So that's my biggest concern, like you, bro, is that we're actually getting educated in other laws and other legislations that need to be upheld other than police reform. Like there's so much other reform that has to take place in these different areas that have to do with us and our community for our kids and our kids' kids. Like, mind you, civil rights, like I said, 65, bro, we're not even close to 100 years from that. We got so much other stuff that, like, we still, in the Constitution, me and you are still seen as 3/5 of a man. Like, we got so much other stuff that we gotta take apart. That I hope it just doesn't stop with police reform.
And I don't think people realize how close we are to segregation. Like I don't feel like our generation really understands exactly how close we are to that. I've watched my mom walk into rooms with like older Black women, really just older people, period. And them tell her, "Girl, you so young. What you talking about? You just a baby." Like, my mom was born into segregation. Like, segregation was abolished like the year after my mom was born. You know what I'm saying? Like, and my mom is young. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not that far removed. And when you talk about the mentality, we're right there because we were raised on a generation of people who were born into that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like our mentality ain't even as far away from segregation and all of the things that were actually like plaguing our community. Like we're not
That's a
even that
fact.
far mentally from it. If we talk about how far away we are from it, actually, you know what I'm saying? So like, I feel like we need more people that can actually understand that like we fought the things that we fought for at that time are the things we're supposed to be using now, like our right to vote, like our right to assemble, and to be able to be informed and educated on that same level. Because I want people to emerge as community leaders and the politicians to be able to actually make some change because I'm tired of us counting on rappers and entertainers to do it. Like, it's unfair because it's unfair that I would do this with you, period, because this is part of what we do. But like, it's unfair that I feel like I have to. You know what I'm saying? Because of my platform or because of the career that I chose to. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we shouldn't be counting on rappers and actors and people to be the voices of the generation and the
That's
voices
a fact.
of activism because
Because when they get it wrong, then we cancel them.
then we cancel them. But it's like,
We
bro,
cancel them when they get it wrong. It's like, wait, he's a rapper. Like, not to say that your intelligence is lower because you're a rapper, but how much if he's just as much in the field as you are?
bro, I
To keep
spent
it real,
if okay, so it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something, right?
right?
I've been spending my whole life trying to get my 10,000 hours in making music.
Mm-hmm.
Then, and no, forget that, in rapping. Because
Mm-hmm.
in 2003, when I decided to be a rapper, you just rap. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Then it elevates up another level when the rappers become, okay, now you got to learn to rap and produce. Now you got to learn to rap and make beats. You know what I'm saying? I got to put 10,000 hours across three different things just in my position. I don't got time to put 10,000 hours into politics. Maybe I only got, you know what I'm saying, 2,000 hours. And them 2,000 hours is not enough for me to hold some sort of like, you know what I'm saying, panel about legislation. But them 2,000 hours may give me enough to be able to put some in my music where my platform is best used to make change. So we need more community leaders for the fact that we need to stop asking celebrities who spent their entire lives mastering something completely different. You know what I'm saying? We need to stop giving them the expectation to have some sort of activist voice because few were able to actually do that.
We gotta make activism cool again. Activism isn't cool.
It's getting
Like
there. It's getting there. It's getting there. We getting there.
it's getting there, but it hasn't been like when I was growing up. Activism wasn't necessarily cool.
Mm.
We had 50, we had Jay, we had Ye, we had different people growing up, but none of them was necessarily activists. I mean, the only
Mm-hmm.
activist I can really give credit to was Ye. You know, he sat there and told you George Bush ain't like white people.
I mean,
But
but you know, Public Enemy as a whole, but Chuck D specifically, I would call
but I'm
Common
talking
an
about,
activist. You know what I'm saying? We
but
had
we
songs.
who we listen to though.
Oh yeah, it's just
Like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
And
Like,
Jay
just
was
yeah.
on it, but Jay was like his message
They-
was so mixed
yeah.
up with so many different things too
Yeah,
that it was like
it was super subliminal. He was going over my head a lot. I get a lot of what he was saying now. Like Jay been talking activism, or he been talking politics since Reasonable Doubt.
yeah,
It's
but the
only now,
problem is because it's mixed up with so much misogyny or mixed up with so much just flexing or mixed up with just wanting to be the best rapper that like you can't be it's not you can't, but it's so hard to both be the best artist you can be and also be the best activist you can be in the hip hop community because so often they contradict each other. You can't be on a record talking about, you know what I'm saying, how nice you are, how much money you got, how many girls you can pull, which is essentially the essence of what hip hop has like become in the mainstream world, and at the same time be like, but my community this and that, and be respected by people because the people are gonna say, okay, you're supposed to be this great activist community leader of an artist, but you got songs talking about
that's a
hoes
fact.
this or song, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the people discredit you. So people make it tough alone for you to be both parts, you know what I'm saying, top tier at your profession if it's in the entertainment field, but at the same time being politically conscious. Because they'll dilute your message. Because the first thing that'll happen when Jay-Z speaks out on CNN, they start quoting old Jay-Z lyrics. It's like, what does it have to do with what the man just said? But they want to bring up you know what I'm saying, hoes in different area codes. When Ludacris gets on his platform and talks about what's really going on in the community, they say rapper Ludacris and throw up video images of videos with him with video girls and all types of stuff. And it's like, bro, that's not even what we're talking about.
But that's what happens when they control the media, unfortunately.
Exactly.
So quick side note, who do you think
Mm-hmm.
is doing the best at activism while being a top tier rapper at the same time? Who do you think is the best right now at
I,
doing it?
I think Jay-Z is doing the best job, and people don't want to really say it because, you know, Jay-Z comes with a lot of the things that he does comes with a lot of skepticism because you can't please everybody. And I don't really view activism as exclusively protesting or making videos or talking. I think you can be a top tier activist with your wallet, you know what I'm saying, or with your
That's a
influence.
fact.
And I feel like what Jay does with his influence and what he does with his music is top tier. I think Chance's last album, whereas it wasn't the best album he made, I think he does a great job of doing both. But Chance, I think, is a great example because we praise Chance after Coloring Book for all the efforts that he made in activism and in reform and all this other type of stuff. But then he puts out an album that may not be to our liking and we're upset. And it's like, bro, we just champion him for spending all the time that he would have spent making this great album
Right.
into actually helping the community. Like the album couldn't have been that great. You know what I'm saying? Like it just couldn't have been. The dude was 24, 25. You can't split your time while you're trying to build a career like that. So we have to do a better job at like appreciating that balance because it's hard to do. It's hard to be a Jay-Z. It's hard to be, you know, even a Killer Mike. Like Killer Mike had to take a step away from music to become this activist slash artist. But he's more activist than he is artist now. You know what I'm saying? But the things that he's doing in activism is amazing. I bet you if Killer Mike put out an album today, it wouldn't go number one.
They just put out an album and that mug not number one.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a
But
fact.
because he's putting so many
Well,
dollars
Kendrick
into
said.
so many other things.
Kendrick said that. Kendrick said, Killer Mike would be platinum. If y'all, but that's but Kendrick is between Kendrick and Jay.
Kendrick,
Kendrick,
Jay, and Cole,
Jay, and Cole. Yeah, I
the three that
mean,
are blending the three the best. I
yeah,
say
yeah,
Kendrick, Jay, and Cole.
yeah. Kendrick will probably get my vote as a person that's able to do top tier, and really push that boundary while being socially conscious at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of jewels in his in his lyrics in his album
Yeah.
that push a narrative, and he's been pushing a narrative since really To Pimp a Butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
He's been pushing a certain narrative. A lot of times it just goes over people's head. I mean, Jay is the thing I love about Jay. Jay being my favorite rapper is that he's more open about it now.
Yeah.
Like 444, like has become probably my favorite Jay album because he's open about everything that's going on. When you talk about Moonlight, you talk about Family Feud, you
Mm-hmm.
talk about Marcy Me, like he's open about a lot of different things and he's blatant with it now
Yeah.
versus it's real subliminal and he mixed it in with lyricism. Now he's just kind of throwing it in your face,
Mm-hmm.
and daring somebody to say something. Nobody ever challenges him, like from a government perspective, from a politician perspective.
Right.
Like everybody's kind of letting them ride now versus back in 2010, 2011 when they would bring up, Big Pimpin' along with Already Home. Like they would,
Mm-hmm.
it's when it's not the same thing, it's not the same message. So Jay or Kendrick will probably get my biggest, probably my go ahead for for rappers. But here's the thing, can it exist? Like, can you have a rapper, like, can both worlds exist? Can we support rappers that talk about the things that's made hip hop what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and support rappers that's socially conscious on the same playing field? Like, can we do both, or do we
Yeah.
got to do away with one
Nope.
and go with the other?
Mm-mm. And that's what I
Because
want to be clear about because, like, I'm challenging the thought pattern that a person can't be equal parts both, or that you have to be one or the other, or that it's not, it's all just encompassed in a person, like in what you are as an individual. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to be like, we can't use, hip hop was made to express your lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Our community's lifestyle of what we're living, which is vastly different person to person, but all kind of is built on the same foundations, the same spirit. You know what I'm saying? So like hip hop was built as much on activism as it was built on, being the best or being the flashiest or having the most, whatever. Like hip hop is equal parts all of that. So I would dare say you're almost less. It's almost less being a part of this culture when you're not encompassing, or communicating about all walks of this life. You know what I'm saying? Like you need all of that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take away from any artist just because they talk about girls in one song or they talk about activism in another, because it's all a part of the walk. Like every day I walk down the street and see a beautiful woman. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of the life that you walk by. You know what I'm saying? And every day I walk down the street and I see a cop and I get scared. You know what I'm saying? That's equal parts of my life. You know what I'm saying? Every day I wake up and tap my pockets and be like, shh, I need more money. You know what I'm saying? Like that's an equal part of my life as a black man. You know what I'm saying? So like we shouldn't devalue one thing or another just because of the way it's perceived. Because one, everything that people say, especially talking about clothes or money, everybody don't want money for bad reasons. Everybody don't want clothes for bad reasons. I know a lot of dudes that want to have jewelry or want to have money or want to have whatever to be a witness, you know what I'm saying, for God. Like I know people that genuinely want nice things so that people can ask them how they got nice things and be like, God is how I got nice things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But everybody is not making music, you know what I'm saying, in the spirit of saying, yo, I'm trying to be a Christian rapper. So there's dudes who have those principles in their heart of like, man, I want to have nice things to show people that God is the Lord and Savior of my life and he's the one that provides everything, but they might not necessarily be Christian rappers. So when they make a song, it's not, yo, I got nice things, I got the paddock because of God got me the paddock. But if you talk to these dudes or ask these dudes questions and you ask them, hey, bro, how'd you get that paddock? I guarantee you it's dudes like Quavo that'll be like, bro, I'm just blessed, bro. Like, I just give it to God and he just gives it back to me. But we judge people because their relationship with God and their walk with God or the way that they present it may be a little different or not as upfront as certain other people. And that's just a part of their journey, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't diminish them when they stand on that same platform and say, Black Lives Matter, we need to do something about this. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't have to be a Jay-Z to have that voice be respected, because those opinions should be respected no matter who you are, because they're universal truths.
And I would tend to agree with that. Like they should be respected. Like I'm a person that takes things for what they are, not what I hope them to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, they should be respected, and not it doesn't make them less than. Unfortunately, that's not the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I would tend to agree with what you're saying. I also think there's people that may have to take, I'm not even going to say take a sacrifice on picking a side,
Mm-hmm.
but be more conscious with it. Like, because not only just people in general, but some of your own community won't necessarily accept you or accept your opinion to its fullest degree, because if you're like a Quavo,
Mm-hmm.
you may have just as strong of a conviction for Black Lives Matter as me and you, but your songs say otherwise.
Yeah.
Or you might feel like Black queens, this, that, and the third, but your content says otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Like some artists are gonna have to choose a side and ride for that side, I think. You know what 100%. I mean? Like, you know, like just like with people in the church, you know, not everybody can be in mainstream and be not everybody can be mainstream and be in the pulpit at the same time. That's not everybody's grace, right? Nobody's made to be judgmental and nobody's made to condemn the other side, but some people just got to take what they wouldn't normally do. Some people got to grow convictions for different reasons, because awards fault on multiple fronts. So because awards fault on multiple fronts, not everybody can do the same thing. And unfortunately, I would like to live in a world where Quavo isn't judged because of his content in one area to say that he doesn't have a voice to speak in this area. But that's not the world that we live in. And so for every Quavo, we need a Common. For every Uzi, we need a Chance. Like, you know what I mean? Because that's just the world that we live in, and it's a lot of mixed messages going on already. And when we do that, like when you have more people in the forefront that's not necessarily on one side of the fence or the other, but straddling, it leads a lot of confusion. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I agree that we should live in a world where people are free to express how they want to express. At the same time, somebody got to take a stand somewhere and be like, no, I'm on
Mhm.
this side of the fence.
Yeah.
And that's just how I'm going to do it. That's just what I'm going to be about. I'm not going to judge you for doing you, but I got to stand over here and do what I got to do, because this is what I'm trying to represent in the long run. Even if it's not something I want to do, it
Right.
don't even be stuff that you want to do. Like, even as a Christian, there's a lot of stuff as a Christian I don't want to do,
Right.
but I got to take that stand because I got people looking after me. I got people coming behind me. And if it goes, and if they're not at a mature space where I can do certain things without necessarily contradicting my message to them, that's on me. Sometimes you got to take the higher road. It's
Yeah.
like, for some, for the sake of people in general, like for the sake of the people that's coming behind me, I got to cut certain things out in order so they don't get the message wrong, so my kids don't get the message wrong, so people don't get the message wrong. And I feel like whether that's in music, movies, whatever, certain people just got to take a certain stance. Martin Luther King took a certain stance. Malcolm took a certain stance. Not that
Yeah.
they judged or condemned really anybody for doing their thing. Malcolm did, but at some point he was like, everybody love everybody, but they said, I can't do that, because as a leader, if you look at me and you see me doing that, then it disrupts the entire revolution. Like, people are
Mhm.
gonna fall behind me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I would probably say that. But I do agree that we shouldn't shun people for, we shouldn't shun a Quavo, and we shouldn't make his opinion less than because of whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
and and that's why, like, for me, it's like I had that same philosophy for the artist. You know what I'm saying? Like, the philosophy that I spoke of previously is my philosophy for the people. And, not to plug the tape, but in the outro I speak
Plug
about
the tape.
common ground.
Yes,
You know what I'm
sir.
saying? Like, on the outro I speak about common ground. Like, I think that's the space where difference is made, where change is made. Like, my encouragement to
You got a
the
lot of jewels on that tape. A lot of jewels.
thank you. And my encouragement to the consumers is understand the art, the artist. And my encouragement to the artist is understand the consumer. Like, understand that because of the way that the world is set up, like, this is kind of the way that it is, or the way that the message is being received. And you have to make a decision at a certain point what that's going to be. Like, whether you're going to compromise the overall impact of what your message could be for other things in your message, or if you want to compromise the other things in your message for the greater good of what's happening. Because I had to make that decision for myself. Like, I had to think about what I was going to do as an artist. Like, do
Right.
I want to compromise my message for just the for the other parts of my community, or do I want to be like, man, I can compromise some of the other parts of my community that are still within me, you know what I'm saying, to be able to take that stand that you were talking about and be like, man, this is my message. Like, and that's what I keep trying to tell people all the time. Like, when it comes to making music, like, my music is the way that it is because I'm such a regular dude. Like,
Right.
but I had to make concessions and compromises for some things that even I don't deem are issues. Like, I don't find an issue with the N word whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? Me taking it off of
Man,
What Do We
me
Know
neither.
for the tape is something that I wish I hadn't did. But for the greater good of the message I was trying to get across, the people that I'm trying to reach, and how I'm trying to put that message out there, it's like, man, I had to make a decision. Like, man, I don't even agree with it, but like, this is a decision that I'm making to be able to take the stand I have to be able to take to be able to have the impact I want to have. You know what I'm
And we
saying?
need but we need more artists like you. Like,
Mm.
but the fortunate part is we all want some money, right? So we all gonna do what we gotta
Yeah.
do, and we do what sell. And so that'd be my prayer for you and everybody in the 4-5, that y'all don't compromise your message for the sake of we gotta put some money in the bank, because you compromise, and it's only leading to your convictions. Like,
Yeah.
you're not gonna feel the same right now at 27 that you do at 32.
At all.
You evolve, you grow, and so, but not that you compromise whatever your personal convictions are for the sake of um I just gotta make some money. I just gotta get on. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
respect you, P, what y'all do, because I know even to this day, like y'all can make it a bunch of different ways. Y'all
Right,
can put out a certain style of music and be good. I can put out certain content on the podcast
bro.
talking about everything under the
You
sun.
can literally just make a sports podcast and go dumb if you
Bro,
really wanted to.
I can make a sports podcast. I can do a podcast on thoughts. Like I can do a
Mm-hmm.
whole.
No cap.
It's like, bro, no cap. Like I can make a YouTube channel pranking people, doing noises and people, all types of goofy stuff. Like you can do that and
Yeah.
be successful, but it's like, but to take a stand and to have a message, I think we do need more artists. Unfortunately, a lot of them do fall by the wayside, or they change up their message because it's not getting them paid.
Man,
But
but
the
you know
fact,
why though? But you know why it's not getting it paid?
oh
The
come on, Kenny,
same system that got us here. Like
that's a fact. That's a fact.
the same system that has us having this conversation right now
You
is the
woke, brother.
same system that's making these artists feel like they have to make a certain type of music to sell records.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Hmm.
it's all the same thing. It's like a consistent cycle because you have labels that are being run by others telling you that if you don't sell this product to your people and to others, that you ain't gonna make no money. So now you backed into a wall. And there are only a handful of people that are articulate and talented and creative enough to articulate a message of positivity, of unity, and of activism on a record without selling those things and be able to reach the masses. That's why when we
Man,
ask who are the people that are conveying that message at the highest degree, we only got 3 names. But we can't live in a world where only 3 people are rapping giving that message.
no,
That's the system that we're in. We're trapped, bro. We're
it's the
trapped
system.
by the
You
system.
thinking, brother?
It's
Like
infiltrated every level, bro, of our society.
it has since. I mean, you think about the civil rights. One of the worst things they did was give they had, like the whole system. It's a whole system. It's a whole system of oppression since way back before '92 in the '80s when they put drugs and guns in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Had us like black on black crime. Don't get me wrong. I believe black on black crime is a real thing, but it's a narrative because the system that you speak of
Yeah.
put drugs in where we got to take each other out. Whereas before, equally as black people, we all ain't had nothing, so we ain't had no choice but to stand together. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give you this over here, make him jealous of you over here. So now we taking each other out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's all a part of a system. Unfortunately, this is the system of oppression we find ourselves in, and you know, like you said, it's a system. I mean, we can do a whole hour on a system. Everything's a system, from the schooling to medical
Mm-hmm.
to
Don't even get me started on the
music,
medical.
bro.
Don't even get me
It's a
started.
it's a system. So speaking of systems,
Mm-hmm.
going into our last joint, how do you feel? You mentioned sports earlier.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about the current state of sports right now, as they're trying to bring everything back?
I think it's exciting because absence makes the heart grow fonder in general. So I think that's a good thing. But I think also we're due for a good distraction. Like we need we need a place to go to get a break. And I like the fact that our athletes, I feel good saying that, feeling like our athletes won't let it become an unnecessary distraction.
Yeah,
Like I feel like in this climate, our athletes won't allow this to be something where, okay, basketball's back, we're done talking about this. It's gonna be one of those things where it's like, man, like sometimes I need 2.5 hours with no internet, with no information, you know what I'm saying, about anything going on to be able to decompress and chill. But at the same time, I feel confident knowing that at the end of the playoff game, LeBron James is gonna get on the podium and people will ask him questions about what's going on and he will answer questions about what's going on. And there'll be
yeah,
many athletes like him. So I think in that respect, like I think it's a good thing that sports are coming back because the people, we need something to give us that hope and to make us even more unified. Because I don't think anything unifies people in America like sports. Sports is the only thing in America where people are bonded by a dislike for each other's opinion.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it's good.
I I I'm unsure about it. Um, and this is me right now in June because we don't have all the information on COVID, this, that, and the third. Like either it
Oh,
was
health
all
wise, I'm terrified.
yeah, like that, and
Health
that's
wise, I'm
and that's
terrified.
and that's my thing. It's like, man, I don't know, because what happens? You lock them down in Orlando.
Hmm.
You bring 22 teams back, and somebody catch it, and we just. It's another disappointment I don't need in life. I
Yeah.
don't need another. I don't need for you to get me hyped up. We playing games, and the next thing you know, the next week we shutting the season down. Like I
Yeah.
don't need you to have a Diddy moment, constantly closing the studio. I don't need it.
Oh God.
So if we don't have all of the facts and we don't know everything we need to know in order to keep these players healthy throughout the entire time, I'd rather honestly not bring the season back. But I do understand
Hmm.
needing a good distraction. I guess I've just gotten kind of so used to it being the way it is. It's like versus just risking the health of just one young player. I get it. A lot of young people aren't passing from it.
Hmm.
And nobody from the NBA who even caught it passed from it. But what happens to that one young NBA player that catches it and is not able to come back from it? It's like
Yeah.
I'd rather scratch the season than risk one player catching it and not being able to come back from it. So I'm on the fence. Like, don't get me wrong, as a Pelicans fan, I'm like, yo, they trying to rig us into the playoffs. I'm kind of with it.
They are
You
trying to
know,
rig y'all into the playoffs.
they are trying to stop, no disrespect. But but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, what is it really worth? And how much is the championship really respected at this moment in time?
A
I
lot,
don't know.
bro. A lot, bro. Because history won't remember that. Like 20 years from now, nobody's gonna remember. Nobody's gonna recant that. Like when we talk about LeBron's first ring, we never talk about that lockout season ever.
Yeah,
Like it's never like LeBron's first ring don't count because they had a lockout. Like people don't remember Kim
special.
and KD playing flag football in the city. Like nobody remembers that. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody cares. My
That's
main
a fact.
concern is what happens if somebody gets it. Like if somebody gets it, are we shutting down the season? Because at that point, then like I feel like if they're gonna bring it back, it needs to be, yo, barring like a major breakout, we're gonna keep playing. Because here's the truth. People are gonna keep getting it. Some of us have it and don't even know we have it. You know what I'm saying? So like let's not overreact to like what it really is if we're gonna bring it back. But I was talking to my bro like 2 days ago about the bigger implications of why the NBA, you know what I'm saying? Because my brother was like you, he was like, man, let's just shut it down. Like we don't need to bring it back, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, man, you gotta understand like how much money is at stake here by them coming back. And not just like how much money is at stake for millionaires and billionaires. Like, don't think about it like that. But I'm thinking about like LeBron James in school, like how much money from his salary is tied up into his activism. You know what I'm saying? His reach, his voice. You know what I'm saying? Like, if them going back and playing 8 games in the regular season, then hitting these playoffs is going to bring millions of dollars into what is largely black men's hands to do good for the community and move forward the things that we're trying to do. Like that's necessary because
Yeah.
if they not go play, they're gonna lose. I think it was like half the revenue from the season, and then that affects next season's salary cap, which is gonna come down, which is less money going into black businesses, and that's what these men are, black businesses. You know what I'm saying? So we
I
need to
mean,
be able.
when you put it like that, I mean, I don't want to stop nobody from getting their bag.
You feel me? Like
I
people that's
don't
gonna
stop
be
it.
end up pushing the cause further. Like you know what I'm saying? It may hurt the community more even to not have these dudes making the money that they were making to be able to change lives with their foundations. You know what I'm saying? So
Got you.
it's really about where you really fall with it, like where your convictions are, like what you said.
All right. Well, we have been at it for an hour, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
let you go. I
appreciate it.
appreciate you, my G. I'm gonna have to get you, face to face, but I definitely thank you. Thank you to everybody that logged on.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to all of the reaches out there. Shout out to Team of G, JD. Appreciate y'all, all
Yeah,
y'all that's logged in. Um, man, love you, Brody.
love
I'm
you
gonna
too,
get with
bro.
you.
For real.
All right, I'm gonna holler at you. All right,
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for
all
having
right,
me.
Brody. Yes, sir.
Peace.
All right, and that's a wrap. Thank you for all of y'all that tuned in. Love y'all. Leave y'all comments down. We're gonna put this on IGTV and also YouTube. And stay tuned. I'm gonna have a couple of more people on live, but appreciate y'all. Any last comments? Any last words before we get out of here? No? Thumbs up? Everybody good?